Hello, welcome. I am Jeffrey Martin, Director of the University of Georgia Performing Arts Center. It's a pleasure to have you with us today for the next installment of our Arts Chats, which is part of our virtual programming series this season. The recording of this conversation will be archived on our Facebook page and YouTube channel, so you can return to watch it again or share it with your friends. I hope you will join us as we continue to offer performances and events in our virtual concert series this month, including Athens-based guitar trio Revian, as well as the continuation of the Chamber Music Society of Lincoln Center's Front Row National Series, and a special holiday concert by Voces 8 filmed in London. That'll be a nice treat just before the holidays. You can visit us online at pac.uga.edu to learn more about these events and to purchase tickets to attend in person or to watch from home. Now on with today's show. I'm really pleased to welcome Amber Iman to the broadcast today. She is a native of Georgia and attended North Springs High School, where she excelled in the arts and sciences. Amber received a full scholarship to Howard University in Washington, D.C., where she earned a BFA in musical theater. Amber has played a variety of roles at a number of respected theaters in the Atlanta area and throughout the East Coast, including Arena Stage and the Huntington Theater. She played Aldonza in Man of La Mancha at the Shakespeare Theater Company in Washington, D.C., and Cheryl in the star-studded limited run of Little Shop of Horrors at the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. Her Broadway credits in New York include Rent at New World Stages and A Civil War Christmas at New York Theater Workshop. Amber made her Broadway debut as the High Priestess of Soul, Nina Simone, in Soul Doctor. She returned to Broadway in Shuffle Along, or The Making of the Musical Sensation of 1921 and All That Followed. That show was nominated for 10 Tony Awards and was directed and written by George C. Wolfe, choreographed by Savion Glover, and boasted an all-star cast, including Audra McDonald, Brian Stokes-Mitchell, Billy Porter, Joshua Henry, Adrian Warren, and Brandon Victor Dixon. I had the great pleasure of seeing it as well, and it was quite the production. Amber made her Broadway national tour debut as Peggy Schuyler and Maria Reynolds in the Tony Award-winning smash hit Hamilton. She is a founding member of the Broadway Advocacy Coalition and Black Women on Broadway, a digital platform celebrating the rich legacy of Black women in theater. Welcome, Amber, to the broadcast today.
Hi, Jeffrey. Thanks for having me.
So glad to meet you and to take some time to talk with you. How have you been during all of this pandemic time? I know it's a crazy time for everyone who works in the performing arts, especially.
Yeah, I mean, it changes from moment to moment, day to day. Some days it's up, some days it's down, some days it's just in between. So I think today feels like a good day.
Good. I mean, we just kind of have to take one day at a time right now, don't we?
Absolutely.
And you have been living in New York that's where your current home is, right?
Yes, I've been in New York for 8 years.
Okay, great. But you're spending some time in Atlanta or the Atlanta area for the holidays?
Yeah, I came home for Thanksgiving and I'll probably just stay through Christmas. I mean, there's nothing happening in New York City and nobody wants to be in cold winter in New York right now. So there's no need to be there.
Right. Yeah, I definitely love these Georgia winters for sure. If I had to choose between the New York winter or Georgia, I think you made the right choice too.
Absolutely. I don't think anyone really ever wants to be in New York for the winter. I try as much as I can to book a show in California or Miami during winter. So
Right.
yeah, escaping winter is always number one.
Yeah, that's very smart. Now, so why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and your experience? You grew up right here down the road from us in Sandy Springs. Is that right?
No, I grew up in East Point. I live right by Hartsfield International.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm born and raised in Atlanta. My mother's an actor, so I've kind of always been a performer. I went to North Springs because I always did the arts, but I was also like a math and science whiz. And so I was looking for a double magnet program. So I would get on a bus every morning at like 6:45 to go from East Point to North Springs.
Wow.
A sacrifice.
Especially
But
for an actor.
yeah, and so, I was always there before school for a performance or after school for rehearsal, and I was taking, like, ballet at Atlanta Ballet. I was crazy. I was one of those teens who just never had a free moment to do anything. So, yeah, those are my high school years, and then I got a full academic scholarship to Howard, and that's when I went to DC and then moved on from there.
Oh, great. Now, so you said your mom was an actor, so it wasn't necessarily um, out of the norm that you would pursue a similar profession,
Yeah,
probably.
I feel like I see that in a lot of my artist friends in Atlanta. All of our parents were artists, and not everybody's an actor. There's some who are like musicians or dancers, but I feel like when you come from art, you can't help but find a way to create art in your own way, whatever that is. Um,
Mhm.
and my mom, I think most parents want their kids to make more money than them. So she did not discourage me from the art, but she wanted to like expand my mind. So that's why I was doing like math and science. She wanted
Mhm.
to make sure that in case I decided to be an artist, I had the foundation. So I was always in acting classes and dance classes and singing in somebody's choir. But then I was doing like Toastmasters and making speeches and going to like Einstein summer camp. And so it was just like, just in case you want to be an artist, you have the foundation. But here are all the other options you have in the world. So like when I was a senior in high school, I was taking advanced algebra trig and drama and AP psychology and AP lit. So I think I'm kind of glad. I think when we have more than one avenue, it just makes us more well-rounded artists because we're more well-rounded humans. And I just think that makes it just kind of fills your toolbox with more tools that you can pick from and choose and use in your art.
That makes sense. I think that is so true. You really have exposure to more types of knowledge, and I like how you say that you have more tools in your toolbox to help with your
Mhm.
craft. Yeah. Now, do you have experience or do you enjoy the administrative side of the arts at all, or have you been primarily on the stage?
I mean, I feel like I've done a little of everything. I've stage managed, I've run lights and sound. At Howard, they were really big on like they never like kept us from the stage. We didn't have to wait till we were sophomores to perform, but we had to take costumes or set or lights or sound. And I remember stage managing my first show, and it was a show that was like 400 cues, and I stood the whole time, and I was sweating. It was so much work to call the show. And I remember coming out of the like stage manager's booth, like ready for everyone to shower me with flowers and tell me, oh my God, that was such hard work. And there was no one. And I was like, oh yeah, this isn't for me. So I know that I belong on the stage. I know that I can do other things well, but I'm OCD. I like organization. When I was stage managing, my stage management kit and book was on point. But yeah, it's not really for me.
Hmm.
I can do it if I need to, but it's not where I belong.
Yeah, that makes sense. At least you have had those experiences, and that probably gives you more empathy for people who are working in those positions.
Absolutely, because I know how terrible actors are. Like we're terrible. And I think one of my director, when I stage managed, he told me that I was one of the smartest stage managers he ever had. It was because I thought like an actor.
Hmm.
There are little things that people don't realize actors aren't aware of. Like when we go on 10-minute breaks, you can't just tell us take 10 because we don't know what time it is. So you have to say the time is 3:15, take 10. And then actors go,
Mhm.
oh, that means I have to be back at 3:25. Like just little things I thought the way actors thought, and that's how I stage managed. So it made me a better stage manager because I was an actor.
Oh, that's great. And then I bet in turn that makes you a better actor because you
Absolutely.
know how to relate to your stage manager.
And you know the burden that they're carrying, and you know how their job is thankless. They don't get the flowers and the candy and the bottles of champagne. So it makes you want to take care of them and also like be on time and not be a burden.
Mhm. Right. Oh, that's great. Now, you have an amazing voice. I have listened to some of your music online, and wow, you just incredible. So I'm so glad that you agreed to share with us a couple of performances from home. So why don't we set up the first one here? We're going to watch you sing "Party in the USA," and tell us a little bit about why would you choose this song?
I like taking songs and like spinning them or turning them or flipping them or singing things that aren't expected. Um, Nobody expects me to sing Miley Cyrus, so I sing it. I've been singing that song in my one woman show. I do it a little differently in my one woman show. Like I slow it down, there's a reggae beat. But it just speaks to me. And I'm not, even though I'm a musical theater major and I perform in musical theater, I don't like musical theater songs. They mostly bore me. And I just find songs that have great stories. So I lean more towards jazz standards or really good pop songs because some of them they're great vehicles to tell great stories. So when I heard Party in the USA, I was like, yeah, this just feels right. So I've been doing it for years and it's one of my favorite songs to sing.
Oh, that's great. Okay, here we go. "Party in the USA."
I hopped off the plane at LAX with my dreams in my cardigan. Welcome to the land of fame excess. Am I gonna fit in? I hopped in the cab, here I am for the first time. Look to my right, it's the Hollywood sign. This is all so crazy. Everybody looking so famous. My tummy's turning and I'm feeling kinda homesick. Too much pressure, I'm nervous. That's when the taxi man turns on the radio and a Britney Spears song was on. Then a Beyonce song was on. Then a Britney Spears song was on. So I put my hands up to play my song. The butterflies fly away. I'm nodding my head like, yeah. Moving my hips like, yeah. Hands are up to play my song. I know I'm gonna be okay. Yeah, yeah. It's a party in the USA. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a party in the USA. Get to the club in the taxi cab. Everybody's looking at me now. Like, who's that chick that's rocking kicks? She's gotta be from out of town. It's so hard when my girl's not around me. It's definitely not an ATL party, cause all I see are stilettos. I guess I never got the memo. My tummy's turning and I'm feeling kinda homesick. Too much pressure, I'm nervous. That's when the DJ dropped my favorite tune, and a Jill Scott song was on. And then an India Ari song was on, and a Jill Scott song was on. So I put my hands up to play my song. Butterflies fly away. I'm nodding my head like, oh my God. Moving my hips like, this my song. Hands up to play my song. I know I'm gonna be okay. Yeah, 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 yeah. It's a party in the USA. Yeah, 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 yeah. It's a party in the USA. I feel like hopping on a flight back to my hometown tonight. Something stops me every time. The DJ plays my song and I feel alright. So I put my hands up to play my song. The butterflies fly away. I'm nodding my head like, yeah. Moving my hips like, yeah. Hands are up to play my song. I know I'm gonna be okay. Yeah, 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 yeah. It's a party, it's a party, it's a party. So I put my hands up to play my song. The butterflies fly away. I'm nodding my head. I'm moving my hips, yeah. Hands up to play my song. I know I'm gonna be okay. Yeah, 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 yeah. It's a party in the USA. Yeah, 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 yeah. It's a party in the USA. Yeah, 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 yeah. It's a party in the USA.
Oh, that's great. That was so much fun. Thank you.
Yeah, I had fun doing that one.
I can tell you have a very fun personality. You're probably a really fun person to hang out with.
I'm not gonna lie.
Now, so tell me a little bit about your one-woman show. Is it like a
I
cabaret
don't like
type
that
show
word.
or?
It makes me just think of old people. Most of my shows, my friends tell me it feels like a third TED Talk, a third stand-up, and a third concert. Um, yeah, I don't
Oh,
like the sound of my voice that much. I know it sounds weird to say, but I'm not one of those people who's like, I'm gonna sing 20 songs. Like you could just sit home and play YouTube for that. So I always build a story into it. There's always a through line. There's always moments for crowd interaction and participation. I love to make people pull out their phones and meet whoever's at the table next to them. Let's take selfies. Let's just have a moment. We're in a shared space together, like something we haven't been able to do this year. And it's like, you don't never know who you're sitting next to, the networking that could happen, the connections you make. So I just always like my shows to be more of like an experience. So yeah, I usually change it up every time. I talk about past lovers or the fact that I don't have a man, that I'm looking for a man, or you know, the way the industry controls our lives. Just it's always about me and some crazy foolishness that I'm going through. But it's always a good time. And people usually always leave inspired or motivated to create their own works. I remember after my first show, my first one woman show, I helped three of my friends put their own one woman shows up. So it's just been a great vehicle. I've done it across the country. And it's just something I never really was never really on my radar to do. But I'm so glad that I started like creating more opportunities for myself. That's really what it was born out of, the need to like broaden my horizons, not keep waiting on the phone to ring, not be so dependent on agents, and just to take more control over my life and my narrative.
I think that's really a key thing. I've heard some other successful people say that as well, who work in the business, that you really do have to kind of make your own opportunities whenever you can.
Yes, absolutely. It's a must.
And how did it come about that you created your show? Like, did someone kind of give you the spark of this idea, or you were looking around and saying, I could do that?
It was depression. I was doing I have to be honest because it's the only way to be. I was doing Hamilton, I was on tour, and I was just really unhappy. It was the biggest show, the most money I'd ever made, but like we know everything that glitters isn't gold. And I would just come home at night. I would like come home after doing Hamilton. I would go to the gym and row for 5,000 meters. I would work out after the show because something in me was just not being fulfilled. And I remember like just being so low and calling one of my girlfriends, Jocelyn Bio, who was an amazing playwright. And I was like, I think I want to do a woman show. I don't know anything about writing a show. What do I do? And she was like, okay, you want it to be around music? And I was like, yeah, I want to like sing songs and tell stories. And she was like, get some index cards and write the songs that you love, the ones you sing in the shower, the ones you find yourself always going to. She was like, put those on your mirror. And she was like, every day just walk by them and look at them. Don't pressure yourself. Just look at the songs, look at the titles, go through the lyrics in your mind, and the songs will start telling the stories. Like you'll figure out the stories that you want to create around the songs. And I did that. And while I was in LA, while I was doing Hamilton, I put it together. My good friend Matt Gould, who was an amazing composer, he would come to the Pantages like once or twice a week, and we'd sit in the basement and we'd just work through songs and pick out arrangements and fiddle with keys. And he got me a venue and like a liquor sponsor, and like we got 100 chairs. And we were like, let's see what happens. And like 125 people showed up, and we sold out. And it was like one of the greatest moments of my life because it just opened up a whole world of opportunities that I didn't know was available to me. I remember one of my castmates, his name is Brian. He's 20-something-year-old white boy from like California. And he comes up to me after the show and he's crying. He's like in tears. And he said, our experiences we couldn't be more different, but your story and storytelling is so universal that I was moved. And I was like, I get to stand on stage and tell someone else's story every night, but my story moved someone to tears that had no idea about my life, that came in knowing nothing. And it was just like, that's some power there. Like, I may not know what I'm doing as a writer. I may not be that skilled, but I did something. There's something there. So that just really kind of like something like broke open inside of me. And I was like, oh, maybe I can write, maybe I can produce. So yeah, it just came out of sadness and depression. And sometimes you have to hit, you know, a low or hit the bottom. And then you're like, well, only place to go from here is up. So it was a, you know, a rough experience, but so much beauty was born out of it. And I'm really grateful for that.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm curious about what will happen in the next year to 2 years to see all of the creative work that comes out of this past, 8 or 9 months that we've been going through, and the few months to come for sure. Have you been working on things or mulling over ideas in your mind of creative projects?
Yeah, I mean, I wrote and executive produced and starred in a short film that I released in 2018 that has been in the film festival circuit. We've won Best Actor, Best Short, Best Screenplay, and I think we've been accepted to over 20 film festivals at this point. So when I came home, I was like, let me fiddle with the idea of like a pilot if I wanted to turn that into like an Amber Iman sitcom. So I've written a pilot. I'm writing music. I've been calling this the year of wellness, and why not? So I've been like trying to take care of my body, go to doctors, like, because that's something that artists don't do. We don't take care of ourselves until something breaks. So I've been doing the wellness side, and then the why not side is like, what if I had a TV show? Why not? What if I had a this? Why not? So I'm just like, if it comes to my mind, if it feels like it's a good idea, let me just see what happens. Let me just write until I can't write anymore. Something may come of it, nothing may come of it. But I think half the battle is just doing the thing and not ripping it up and throwing in the trash can and not judging it, just seeing like what happens if I just allow myself to try. So yeah, I've been working on a lot of things, and we'll see where the chips fall. I'm not pressuring myself and I'm not giving myself huge deadlines because I think this is a year when we have to take care of ourselves mentally, emotionally, spiritually. So I'm just kind of loosey goosey with it, but I've definitely created some things that I'm proud of.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
What would you say are some tips that now there's this kind of downtime going on between performing in general? Like what are some things that you do or actors do to stay in shape in terms of vocal power and fitness, because it really is, when you're performing, especially in musical theater at the level that you do, it really takes all of your body, doesn't it? And so
It does.
how do you maintain your body in the shape that you need to be in so you can jump into that again?
Number one, I think stop worrying about that. Like, I think the biggest and most important thing is like balance. Like we aren't going back to work, you know, for quite some time. You know, it's going to be fall before we're like really in it again. And so I think you have to take what you need and you have to be gentle with yourself. You know, Thanksgiving, I was eating sweet potato pie for breakfast. I did not care. You know, I think you have to listen to your body. There are moments when my body is like, I need a cheeseburger. And then I woke up this morning and I was like, I need a green smoothie. So I have a green smoothie. You know what I mean? I've built a fitness studio. I have a punching bag. I have resistance bands. I have so many things here. And it's like there are days when I do my HIIT and I do my cardio and I kickbox. And there are other days I'm like, I'm just going to walk the belt line. I'm just going to ride my bike up and down the street. I think we put so much pressure on ourselves. We got to be ready. You know, when it opens up, I got to be like, we are going through, this is uncharted territory. Like, this is insane. Nobody has ever been through what we're going through. So I think what's smartest is to listen to your body. Your body will tell you when you need to work out. Your body will tell you when you need to take a nap or eat some French fries. So I don't put any pressures. I'm not singing every day. Sometimes I wake up and I want to sing a full concert. Other days I don't. I think it's smartest to listen to your body and listen to your intuition. Like I was like, I've been eating in November, maybe December, I want to slow things down. I want to cut out some of the sugar and processed things. I want to eat more fruits and veggies and water. So yeah, I think it's most important to do that. You know, like when it's normal, when it's, you know, when Broadway is open or when I'm doing a show, show. I stick to mostly protein veggies. I'm big on trying to drink a gallon of water a day. I work out 3 or 4 times a week. If I'm employed and have the money and can afford to do all those things. So mainly it's always just thinking smart. Like, you know what you should be doing. You know you don't need to eat a whole pizza. You know you don't need to be eating ice cream in bed, Ben and Jerry's every night. But I also believe that everybody knows their body and everybody is different. You know, I can drink a whole milkshake before doing a show. Dairy doesn't do anything to me, but that might not be for you. So I think it's also smart to know your body, know what your body needs. You know, when I was younger, when I was on Broadway, I didn't warm up. I didn't need to. I mean, I should have, but I was playing Nina Simone. She's in the basement. So I could roll out of bed and be just fine. But now I get older and I'm like, I need to do more things. I need to steam and I need to, hum and do lip trills. So the biggest part of maintenance is knowing your body, knowing what your body needs, and listening to your body. That's how you maintain.
That's great advice. I'm sure we'll have some students watching today that will really appreciate your insight. That's fantastic. Yeah. Speaking of students and people who are like looking to forge a career on Broadway or just as an actor in general, what kind of advice would you give people who are looking to get in and make their way?
Just do it. It's the question I'm asked the most. And it's like, what is advice if I want to be on Broadway? Go be on Broadway. Like, there literally is no formula. There's no school that you can go to that will magically make you a Broadway star. You can go to UMich and never work on Broadway in your life. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's nothing that I can tell you that's special. It's just work hard. Surround yourself with a community of people that you love and trust who are going to have your back, because this industry is hard. If New York and Broadway is your dream, like, New York is cold and very lonely, and it is not an easy city to live in. I think people romanticize our industry way too much, and then students aren't prepared for what it is. They're like, oh, I just need my Capizio dance bag and my 16 bars. And it's like, no, there's a lot else. There's a lot more that you need to sustain. I thought, I moved to New York and I'm talented. I'm just going to work forever. And I remember my mom saying one day, even Meryl Streep doesn't work 365 days a year. And that's real. Like, you might know that your next job is starting in September, but that's 9 months away. Like, what are you going to do in between time? It's not about having a plan B. I call it having a plan A plus. Like, what else do you do? Who else are you? So much of our identity as artists is tied to what show we're doing. So a lot of kids don't even know like who they are or what else they want to do in life. So my big advice is always just like, know who you are, know what you want to do. Do you have friends who inspire you to do other things? Do you have friends that you guys can pull your resources and create stuff? Like, if you are studying musical theater, and you've planned and prepared your whole life, like, that part, you're going to be okay. Like, how to show up in an audition room, how to do that stuff. But paying taxes, collecting unemployment, knowing how to survive as an artist, those are the things that people need to focus on. If there's a skill that you have that's made money in the past, find a way to parlay that into something that you can use to make extra money when you're between jobs and hustling. That's something. I've never had a real job, which is not the greatest thing. I think people are like, oh, that's amazing. It's like, no, because when I graduated from Howard, I had a full ride, so I had no debt, but I had no money because I never worked. So moving directly to New York right after school didn't make sense. So I moved back home to Atlanta for 3 years. And you may not want to do that. So you have to figure out how am I going to make money? And when I say New York, I mean New York Universal. That could be your LA, that could be Chicago, DC, wherever you're going. How are you going to survive? How is your spirit going to survive? The cold, lonely months, it's hard to get out of bed some days. So I always just encourage people to focus on you and your wellness. It doesn't matter who you believe, what you believe, but have something that you believe in. Have some meditation, have something that you get out of bed every morning and I do my face mask and I light my light candles and I do, some yoga, meditation, like have a thing, establish a routine. The business, the theater, the gigs will come, but like you have to sustain and maintain yourself and your sanity. So like that's my advice. It's like the gigs will come, but what about you? What do you need in order to maintain and survive in the industry?
Smart. Yeah, you really have to focus on your whole person, don't you? Not just one aspect of the thing that you want.
Absolutely, because you won't make it. You will burn out very quickly if you don't have yourself together. Because you get to New York or wherever, and there's just so many things coming at you, and you have to be able to like pull back and say, okay, this is who I am. These are my standards. These are my morals. This is what I believe. This is what I won't put up with, and that helps you continue to be able to take it one day at a time.
Are there ever times where you think, I don't know, maybe I'm done with this business?
Every other day. I mean, even when there's no pandemic, like it's just a really difficult industry. And it depends on what you want out of the industry. Everybody has different goals. I like to say not everybody wants to be Halle Berry. And that's the thing. It just means like everybody has a different idea of what they want, what success looks like. So you have to define it for yourself. You have to, I like to create like small tangible goals that I can achieve for myself when I walk into an audition room. So whether I book it or not, I have something that I'm working towards. It's just really about programming your mind to think and move in a way that is healthy. Because you can get out into the big world and there's a lot of toxicity. There's a lot of unhealthy things. There are a lot of unhealthy habits you can develop. So that's why I'm all about like self-preservation and knowing yourself, taking care of yourself, because that's the only way you will survive this insane business.
Those are good messages for us to hear. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you are very active as an advocate on Broadway, and I just wondered if you could talk a little bit about your work. First of all, what is the Broadway Advocacy Coalition, and what's your involvement there?
I'm one of the founding members of BAC. We were founded back in 2016 as a collective of artists who are working to always bridge the gap between activism and art. We were founded because I was doing Shuffle Along in 2016, and I can't even remember what young Black boy had been killed because so many of them had been. I can't tell you which one it was, but I remember seeing that a busload of actors were going down to Florida for the Pulse nightclub massacre. And I was so proud. I was like, thank you, Broadway, for doing something. And a lot of times when you're doing a show, you miss events. So I was like, oh, I'm sure there have been like so many Black Lives Matter, Broadway for Black Lives Matter events. Let me Google all the things that I've missed. And I Googled and there was nothing. And I was like, that's pretty on brand for Broadway. And I was just so disgusted and angry and annoyed and just like, I just wrote this Facebook post. I was like, there's Broadway for Trader Joe's, there's Broadway for Shark Week, there's Broadway for Britney Spears, where's Broadway for Black Lives? And I had no intention of doing anything. I was just kind of poking the bear and hiding the stick. And I walked away from my Facebook and I came back like 2 hours later and the post had blown up. It was like 1,000 likes. My text messages, my DMs were going off. And people were like, well, Amber, if anybody's going to do anything, it's you. And I was like, I'm not doing anything. But the more I started talking to cast members, we realized that this was an opportunity. And, my friends were like, what do you want to do? And I was like, well, as people, as a culture, as a community, like we do need to come together and sing and lean on each other and scream and cry. But I said, Broadway is full of itself a lot. Like we sing, but then what happens after we sing? I was like, I want to have an event where, yes, we sing and we see spoken word and dance, but like, I want to bring in community leaders to tell us like, what even are our rights? Like so many of us are angry. We don't know what to do. We don't know where to help. We don't know what to do when police stop us. Like, we just don't know anything, but we're just mad. So I was like, I want to create a night of entertainment, but also information. I want people to leave informed. I want to have vendors in the back from Black-owned businesses so people can start supporting local. So in 2 weeks, we put together Broadway for Black Lives Matter. 1,100 people showed up. Cynthia Erivo, Lettucey, India Iree, Billy Porter, Audra, and Stokes. Everybody just showed up. I don't know where $35,000 came. It came out of nowhere. Suddenly we had a budget, we had people. It was insane. But it was an amazing event that literally happened like 2 days after Shuffle Along closed. So like freshly unemployed. And now half of my cast is all like putting all our freshly unemployed energy into this event. And after the event, I was like, okay, we're done. Thank you. And people were like, what's next? And I was like, again, not doing anything. But, you know, we took a week to kind of like sit back and like listen. And we were like, we felt called because people were literally looking to us to do something. So from that event, we started the Broadway Advocacy Coalition. And it just became a way to start creating community. Because I think community is a word we use in theater and we don't really have community. We only know actors. Actors know actors. We don't know the lighting designers. We don't know the people running props or front of house. That's not a real community. So we just started, we had a partnership with Columbia Law School, and we started doing these monthly things. We call them invitations. And each month would have a different theme, like sanctuary cities or immigration, or this is 2016, so voting rights. Like this was before Trump came into office. So we were just trying to educate people on how to be better citizens and be better leaders of their community. We would have an event and we would leave everybody with like a little bag of Hershey's Kisses. And on outside of the kiss would be a challenge. And the challenge would be like, go across the hallway, knock on your neighbor's door, introduce yourself, invite them over to dinner. Because you live across from these people for 10 years, you don't know who they are. Or go to the local hardware store and bodega, introduce yourself. I live in the community. I want to support the business. Like, we don't have community. So we're always, everything we do comes back to community and communication, which is literally at the root of every problem we have in the country. People don't know each other, they don't talk to each other, and they assume things. And that's why we live in the cluster mess that we live in now. So that's what my advocacy kind of grew out of, was just, I seem to always create out of depression or anger. Which I want to change, but great things have come from it. You know, BAC this year was voted, every year Variety does like a top 10 to watch on Broadway, and we were the only organization to watch. They rarely have organizations. So to see that grow from a Facebook message is really kind of cool. And the work we've been able to do in our community and at large has just been really, really wonderful.
Wow, that's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So do you have, is it like a formal organization, or is it kind of a loosely?
Oh no, we're a whole 501c3. We have the lawyers, we paid the money, we did all the things.
Yeah. Oh, great.
Yeah.
Wow. And so I assume you've probably been active this year, which has been quite the year in many, many ways. And but have you, probably not in person, or have you been advocating online, or?
Oh, I mean, we did a massive 3-day forum back in June that 5,000 people showed up to. Wow. We've raised a lot of money to help community members. Like, oh yeah, we've been very, very active. I mean, we've always been active, but this year saw us kind of return to Broadway. The event was called Broadway for Black Lives Matter again, because some people forget that they matter. And we've just done a lot of forums, and I mean, everything's on Zoom. But yeah, we've done days of healing that we invite only Black artists to come to, so that we can have a place to vent and scream and look across the Zoom and see other artists who look like us, because we're all over the country going through the same thing, but it helps you feel like you're not so alone. You know, we had in our 3-day forum, the first day was for Black artists only, and the other 2 days we invited white artists to come, but they could only listen, they couldn't speak, because there's a lot of, you know, let's do Instagram lives and let's talk about things, but it's like, you guys haven't listened long enough to even know what the problem is. So we just created spaces, safe spaces, so that everyone could just come and listen to each other. And we all shared stories of, you know, racism on Broadway, because it is thick and it happens in almost every rehearsal room, and misogyny and sexism, and just really dismantling and breaking down the foundation of Broadway, which was built really terribly. Racism is built into the fabric of this industry. And we're talking about what Broadway will look like when it comes back, and hopefully completely different. It's going to take years. Like, this is not a quick fix. This is going to take decades for it to be rebuilt, and for power to shift, and for doors to open. But it's starting small. So yeah, we've been hard at work this year.
Oh, great. Can you think of some of the things that you would like to see evolve or change when Broadway opens back up next
Absolutely.
year?
I'd love for Broadway theater to be owned by a family of color. I'd love to see it not just be the Sherberts and the Nederlanders. I'd love to see not performative things like every theater company now, suddenly there's a Black associate artistic director, and there's all these new jobs, and all these Black people have all these roles. And it's like, that's cute, but let's actually go in and look at the infrastructure. How many shows out of your season are written by women, are written by artists of color, are written by Black people? What is your subscription base? How do you market these shows? Do you go into Black communities and underserved communities? Like, it has to be a total rebuilding. So that's what I'm looking forward to most. But I'm like cautiously optimistic. Like, this wouldn't be happening if there wasn't a pause in a pandemic. It would have just kept going the way it was going because no one saw that it was a problem. And producers, it's about money. It's show business, and it's about the business. So we know that a lot of what we see is people aren't changing the way that they work because their hearts or their mind changed. They just don't want to be called racist, and they don't want to be called out. So we have to be mindful of that as we go back to work, that the problems will still be there, and the problematic people will still be there. So what I hope is that there's more awareness for actors, that at least we feel like we're all on the same page. Like, we might have to deal with creative teams and producers and producing teams that aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. But if we are united front and we all have each other's backs, then we are unstoppable. So I'm most excited about that, because you can't fire everybody. You know what I'm saying? If the whole cast walks out, you got a problem. So I want actors to realize how much power they have, and not be able to be afraid to speak up in the face of racism, in the face of when you see something happen that's unfair, when you see someone being mistreated. Let's start talking about salaries with each other, because there's no reason people shouldn't be being paid fairly. Like, we just have to start having more conversations. And I think that's what I'm most excited about out of everything, because when we come together and we communicate and we pool our resources, like, we're pretty unstoppable. So that's like my biggest thing, is that artists start looking out for each other, speaking up for each other, standing in the gap for each other. I think that's most important.
Wow. Well, I have no doubt you will move the needle, because you're very passionate and very powerful.
Thank you.
Before we wrap up, I wanted to visit the next video performance that you've put together for us, which is Imagine, and it's a very beautiful song and a beautiful performance. Tell us a little bit about this song and what it means to you.
The lyrics are so clear. It's just really like, and it applies to so much, the industry, the world, the community. It's like, we have so much power if we would just come together. The things that are imagined in the song aren't that far off. Like, they could actually happen, but there's so much power, hungry, greed. Everybody is trying to step on the back of the person ahead of them, and crabs in a barrel. It's just, if we could all just sit down at the same table and have a conversation and learn about one another and learn from each other, things could be so different. And you feel a little crazy when you say, I believe it could happen, but I really do. I don't know if I'll be alive to see it, but I'm doing everything in my power to try to create just more opportunities for community, and more opportunities for us to work together with each other, to lift as we climb, and to just leave the world a better place than when we found it.
It's a great message. Here is Imagine.
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us, above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. Ooh, you may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. Brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. Ooh, you may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. Oh, I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one. You may say I'm a dreamer, oh, but I'm not the only one. Ooh, I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one. Ooh.
Wow, what a beautiful performance and a beautiful message that could not be more timely. Well, I'm very inspired by you, Amber. I've really enjoyed getting to hear about your career and your work. And I'm sure we're going to see many more wonderful things from you in the future.
Thank you, Jeffrey. This has been awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for taking some time.
Absolutely.
Okay, goodbye. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I know I have been very inspired by Amber today, and I hope you have as well. If you would like to learn more about some of the other performances and events coming up, please visit us online at pac.uga.edu. Thank you.